Welcome aboard to NJ.com and Syracuse.com's live chat here as we get set for what is going to be some sort of crazy game here between the Jets and the Bills. When they play it, where they play it, how they play it, we're not quite sure yet, but we know they're scheduled to play as of right now on Sunday afternoon up in Buffalo. With us we have from Syracuse.com, also ESPN Syracuse. It is Brent Axe. He is the community engagement specialist for sports for Syracuse.com. He does my job up in Syracuse. Happy to have him. Happy to talk to someone like me. Brent, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Joe. Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for being with us here. And have you ever seen a situation like this? I mean, what is the talk among Bills fans from where you're up at in upstate New York? What's going on there with the weather? I know you are not in Buffalo, but you know the Bills fans are in your region, and I'm sure being impacted by all of this.
Yeah, it's crazy. And to hear the stories from people in Buffalo that they've never seen anything like this. I mean, you had the equivalent of almost an entire winter's worth of snow fall in a couple days. I mean, there are places in western New York that have 80 inches of snow on the ground right now. I'm sure you guys have seen the pictures, all the cars stuck on the highways. And this is Buffalo. They're used to this. I mean, when you hear a snowstorm coming, they know what to do, how to prepare for it. But has been unprecedented. And when it's all said and done, it's going to be a historic event. I mean, there's already, in some places, 80 inches of snow on the ground. They're getting nailed again today. Another additional, foot of snow, 2 feet of snow in some places are going to fall. And you have Bills fans that are saying, Uncle Mercy, and these are some of the most hardened people in the world when it comes to dealing with snow. We know how to deal with snow here in Syracuse, and that term lake effect snow is something we're very familiar with, but no, this is something that they even haven't seen, and people that went through, the blizzard of 77 and some of those big events that stick through, they say this is way worse.
So, Brent, I mean, tomorrow the NFL has to make a decision here on where they're going to play this football game, when they're going to play this football game, and if they do move it from Sunday. What are the options you're hearing? We've heard a couple different venues, including right here at MetLife Stadium, which would obviously be a road game for the Bills, which is a disadvantage, one of many they're facing right now.
Detroit is a possibility because they are not home this weekend. You mentioned the Meadowlands is a possibility. I've heard Pittsburgh as well. The Bills are kind of ending this relationship, but they've played one home game of the year in Toronto over the past, 5 or 6 years, so that could be an option right now. Those are the cities we're hearing. Where is a question? I think the bigger question is when. You have the Bills right now, Joe. They haven't practiced the last 2 days, and the Jets have. So right there, the Jets have a competitive advantage on the Bills. So I'm wondering more what they're going to do about that. Now, the NFL says they have to make a decision by tomorrow about everything, where they're going to play this, when they're going to play it, all the details of this. But your guess is as good as mine. It was funny, a lot of people here in Syracuse were like, hey, what about the Carrier Dome? But there's a major hockey game going on there this weekend, and by the time they break that down and then Syracuse basketball plays on Tuesday, logistically it's probably not going to work out. But the NFL would want it at an NFL facility. So I'm thinking one of those names that have been thrown out there so far, but what probably makes the most sense is to have it right down where you guys are. And, the Jets would get 2 home games out of it, but this is an extreme situation. If you really want to play the game, that might be the best choice.
It is extreme. It reminds me, and we were talking before we hopped on live here, when I went to the Giants and Saints game 2006, it was right after Hurricane Katrina. I mean, those 2 venues far apart, these 2 not as far, but the Saints were supposed to have the home game. Katrina hit. They could. I don't even think they practiced that. How could they if they did? It was probably altered considering what happened down there in New Orleans. They played the home game for the Saints at MetLife. I was at that game. It wasn't a home game here. I mean, I guess the Bills would just have to deal with, being the road team again, like you mentioned, 2 home games for the Jets in this series this year if that happens.
And I remember there was one of the Saints games, I believe, when they went to the Alamo Dome and they had to move there. I think the Bills were their first opponent, so the Bills were involved in that. And kind of a unique setting there. It was supposed to be a home game for New Orleans and San Antonio. And if I'm not mistaken, I'll have to double check to make sure. I think Doug Marrone was on that New Orleans Saints staff that came up for that Giants game that was a quote-unquote home game there. So, yeah, the NFL kind of prides itself on they play through anything and everything. They've had to move games before. If I'm not, didn't the Jets and Eagles have to play on a Tuesday night when Sandy came through a couple of years ago, if I'm remembering correctly? So, I mean, they're going to play it at some point. But, how do you make it fair for both sides? I mean, the Jets are going. The Jets have had a normal week. The Bills have had anything but a normal week. I mean, they're getting, all their playbook stuff on their iPads, and technology allows them to kind of keep up to speed with what the game plan is. But you know how it goes in football. You got to go through the reps, you got to practice, and you got to be ready for the game, and they're nowhere near for that right now.
Right. Well, I mean, Wednesday is the day to start really getting ready for that next game. Wednesday and Thursday is when you put the game plan in for the game coming up. I mean, from our perspective here with Jets fans, the team's 2-8. They did win their last game against Pittsburgh, but this is a lost season. Not the case with the Bills. I mean, they're 5-5 coming off a couple tough losses in a row, but I mean, that Bills team is still in this AFC playoff race. They need this game.
They really do, and I think their chances are pretty slim at this point because they have to win 5 of 6, and they need some help from the rest of the AFC, but they're still in it. This is a bona fide team that says, if we win 5 of our next 6 games, can be in the playoff hunt right now. So, but boy, what a spot the NFL has been put in here. The NFL has had kind of a rough year in terms of the offseason stuff and people questioning their decision making. I wonder if it's going to come to this as well, especially with people in Buffalo and the Bills fans and the Bills organization, how the NFL goes about this. And that's the thing, Joe. It's the NFL's call how everything goes here. The Bills are feeding them information. They're proceeding as if it's normal. They're doing snow removal at Ralph Wilson Stadium. They put out a call to people in Buffalo. They'll pay you $10 an hour and give you tickets to the game if you come shovel the stadium. The only problem is there's a travel ban in Buffalo. So unless you got a snowmobile or, got your snowshoes on, you can't even get to the stadium to help dig it out at this point. So, the governor of New York is in Buffalo right now assessing everything. He even said today, Andrew Cuomo, it's impractical to play the game in Buffalo. So, I mean, if I had to guess, they're not playing this thing at Ralph Wilson Stadium Sunday. Now, here's the interesting thing is the weather is going to improve through the weekend. The temperatures are going to rise, and if they played on Sunday, I think I saw a game forecast that the high would be like 51 degrees. But that brings about another problem, Joe. I mean, I'm not a weather expert, but now we're talking about flooding. And the Erie County executive said today that they can't commit emergency personnel to be at that game. They can't commit police. There's normally a police presence at an NFL football game. Think of all the stadium workers that have to get there. I mean, to say it's impractical to hold this thing, I think Andrew Cuomo hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I think people will say on Sunday, if it's bright and sunny and 51, like you just said, people will say, why didn't they just play that game? But they have to make this decision, you mentioned it, by tomorrow. That is a very, expedited process for the NFL here to figure something out. It's not like they can wake up Sunday and say, all right, it's okay, let's play.
Right, exactly. So it's their call. We'll see if they make the right call on this. And, the last time the Bills and Jets got together, we all know what happened there. Geno Smith basically said, here's a win on a silver platter. But I want to see what Michael Vick does against the Bills when he's not, being rushed out there and mop-up duty. I think that Rex Ryan can put together a defensive game plan against a Bills offense that is regressing. It's struggling. They can't score in the red zone. Kyle Orton has turned back into Kyle Orton, the guy that's been on 75 different NFL teams. So this is a game the Jets can win, and especially with the extra, I shouldn't say extra practice, but the normal week that they've had so far. The Bills need this game. I want to see this game. If they can play it on the moon for all I care. I want to see it, but it's got to work for everybody. And right now, I mean, does the NFL have a fleet of tauntauns or those walkers from Star Wars they can send in to get the team out? I mean, you've got players from the Bills that are tweeting pictures from their house, and they can't get out. It's a funny joke because Mario Williams for the Bills, he's got one of those Bobcats, which when you have that much money, I guess you could just go buy your own Bobcat. Right. God bless him, and he's digging people out. He was over at Jim Kelly's house digging him out. So maybe they can use his Bobcat and dig their way, a path out of Buffalo to get wherever they're going to play this game. But that's a question right there. When they decide, where they're going to play this, how are they going to get these guys out of Orchard Park? And that's the interesting thing, Joe. In Buffalo right now, you basically cut a line through the city. The south part of the area is getting hammered. But there's places in the north part of Buffalo, and they're starting to get some snow now. But in the major part of the storm, they didn't get anything. So, there's so many things that have to come together, and like you said, have to come together quickly in an expedited process here.
It is crazy here. We'll find out tomorrow when and where maybe they're going to play this football game. The NFL will announce it now. I think both of us think Monday makes sense if they could pull it off somewhere If it has to go to Tuesday, which I've heard put out there as well, I mean, now that to me puts the Jets and the Bills for next week's game at another disadvantage, because that's a really short week. If you're playing Tuesday, recovering Wednesday, I mean, that's another week without really preparation.
Yeah, and we saw this with the Bills when they played the Dolphins on that short turnaround. Those Thursday night games, I mean, they get good ratings, and it seems the NFL's making some money off of them. But when's the last time you watched a Thursday night football game and said, man, that was a great game? I mean, they kind of get through these things. So, yeah, now if the Bills and Jets play on a Tuesday, which, think about it, that's normally your day off in the NFL, and then you got to turn around on a short week. Now, like you said, the Jets are 2-8, and they've got nothing to play for, but still, that would be a unique circumstance for them and an unfair circumstance for them. I'm not sure who the Jets play next week after this Bills game, but now it's just so many dominoes are starting to fall here based on and it goes back to what I said a minute ago, Joe. Where they play seems to be insignificant. It's when they play this game that's going to be the big decision.
Fascinating here. Brent Axe, he's from ESPN, Syracuse Radio, and Syracuse.com. Brent, thanks so much for giving us a few minutes here, and I'm sure this will dominate the conversation with you guys, for us, for the next few days, and wherever it is, enjoy that game, and obviously, if you're going to be around it, stay safe.
My pleasure, Joe. Thanks for having me, man.
There he goes. Brent Axe, Syracuse.com.